when people say, oh, BJJ saved my life, or when they say BJJ Lifestyle, what does that mean? In my time meant something totally different, okay? For my generation, why? We grew up in a different country, different decades, different culture, no technology. The founders were alive, so there was the whole aura of magical thing that time, right? So that meant something at that time. Nowadays, it means something else. So you, as an individual, as a martial artist, you have to find yourself, because it is an individual journey.
Welcome back to the BJJ Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Ford. My guest today is a Coral Belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's the youngest of the 5 Machado brothers, and he's been practicing Jiu-Jitsu for over 40 years. Between 1982 and 1990, he was an avid competitor, winning several major titles throughout Brazil. He was also a 2-time Pan American Sambo champion. He also has a degree in environmental farming, and he's also had numerous film and television roles, including Walker, Texas Ranger, The Ropes, Red Belt, Under Siege 2, and Kickboxer 4, just to name a few. He runs his own very successful academy out of Allen, Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be joined today by Professor John Machado. How are you today, John?
Man, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's great to have you here. We were just talking off air. I was telling you, you're the final Machado that I haven't interviewed yet. So I've now got, I feel like Thanos. I've got all 5 Machado brothers on the show now at this point. I've collected them all. So thank you for being here. I appreciate your time.
That's cool, man. So so we're talking earlier too. So we did a reverse process. So you're in Brazil and I'm here in America, right?
That's right. We're in each other's homelands, but we're doing the conversation remotely. That's so great. John, tell me about what life was like growing up here in Brazil. What was it like coming up in the Machado family in Rio de Janeiro when you were a young guy?
Man, look, so I grew up in the 80s, right? So I'm an 80s generation X. So different times. I always talk about it to the younger generation students and that I have, because it was a unique time. So you go back to that period. Globally was different, right? America the same, but specifically in Brazil, man, no cell phones, so none of that, right? So life was, I think, was richer in many ways on these, on the day-to-day, on the contact with people. You had to be in contact with people in your environment, right? With nature, with your animals. Everybody had dogs, cats, you had to do a lot of things. You're rarely at home. You're home to eat, to play. If you had friends to play with, they would come to play with you or with your family. Otherwise, you're always out, right? And the jiu-jitsu, of course, was part of growing up since I remember. So my older brothers are training, and the relationship with the Gracie family, with my cousins, was we were in each other's house, so it was very natural to the jiu-jitsu in my life since I remember.
Something interesting you mentioned there, the idea of growing up in a time, especially in jiu-jitsu. This is very different for a lot of people who started training nowadays to understand this. But back then, there was no YouTube, there was no cell phones, there was no flow grappling, there was no BJJ Fanatics. There was no place to absorb information except for going to a place in person. And if you were someone that was trying to compete and develop your jiu-jitsu, there wasn't really a way to study outside of the actual academy itself. How different has that been for you to see that level of growth where you can get on YouTube and watch anybody's game, study anything, and then download instructionals and learn them as well?
No, I think you have to always be in present time and take what is available at the present time. So it's a different world, right? So when you talk back then, you had to, I'll give an example in my journey. So growing up, I was training with my brothers and my first teachers, my first cousins. I started as a kid crawling Gracie. I trained even before that as a little tiny kid, but I don't have a lot of memories of that. But as a little kid going to an academy, just like with my brothers, but a white belt, little kid, 5, 6 years old. So I did a little bit of that at the time. But when I was 11, 12, I started training my cousin crawling in my hometown, up in the mountains. So in the state of Rio, there's a town in the mountains, an hour and a half away, Teresópolis. So I was living there at the time. And my cousin was living there as well. He opened a school, so I started training for him, and the passion, I really want to do this, started there. So from there, moving to Rio for college, to school and stuff. And of course, I was at the Copacabana Academy, same building, the old story, where Carson Grace was in one floor, and the next floor, we had our school in the same building. Picture that. So our arch rivals were in the same building. All those killers from Carson Gracie, we trained together. This until almost blue belt. Then we moved to Baja, the first Gracie Baja, right? The original. And with Carlos Gracie Jr. and my brothers Carlos and Hagan were the teachers. Zé Beleza, you know that in Brazil, right? José Leão Teixeira, who was one of the instructors as well. That's the first Gracie Baja, and that until I come to the United States. But back then, you had to search through talking. So there was a lot of talk. There's no internet, so you need to improve your stand-up. So I would go to a judo school. So I had a sensei, Edgar, who was my judo instructor throughout my years in Brazil. So I would go to his gym and in Baja as well. And then with me, my cousin, so I need to improve an area of my game. So then I remember with Jean-Jacques, we ran into Rickson, and it's like on the beach. I said, Hicks would love to train with you. And he said, come by. And then we trained and we never stopped. So that new relationship was created. With Rickson, opened a whole new window. Well, imagine Hicks in his 20s, So that's how, when I went to train with him, I was like a teen, but he's in his 20s, his prime, right? Physical, unbelievable experience. And then you want to learn, but the mentality was different too. Let me bring you back to a point. How did you train and why did you train? What was the purpose of the whole train? So to me, it was to become the best martial artist I could become. So it wasn't you didn't have the professionalism that you have today, all these tournaments. You had 2 tournaments a year, maybe 3. And so the tournament was always a test ground where only killers, not as many people, but it was Carson Gracie guys, they were killers. So guys from Allianz. So my opponents were Fabio Gorgel, were this first generation of guys. Everybody was a killer. So it was always very intense, but there was a bigger purpose, because those are the time. You didn't have a Brazilian federation. You didn't have none of that. No IBJJF federation, international, nothing. And you train to be a good martial artist, be ready to fight, defend yourself at any moment, and balance. Carlos Gracie, the founder, was alive, so there was a deep message from the founder, right? We would have lunch with Grandmaster Carlos Gracie, right? And Helio Gracie, where it's all about the lifestyle. So be balanced, it's your lifestyle, eat good, live good. It was a completely different time. To try to explain that, people, is that a diet? You had to do diet, this? No, man, it's no fad. There was the time like that, right? It was that time where the surf community in Rio joined jiu-jitsu, so there was that mix of the beach lifestyle, which happened a little bit before myself, happened with my older cousin. So the guys from 70s and 80s, where the beach, the jiu-jitsu guys surfing, the surfing guys training jiu-jitsu, and lifestyle, always on the sun. It was a magical time. magical time.
A lot of people have heard the story about when Carlson had his academy in the same building as the Gracie Academy. What was it like?
Was total respect, never any issue. I remember always going up to our floor. We pass by their floor, and then we see the Carson guys go into the room, train. So Murilo Bustamante, all of these guys. So it's just respect. And we go to our level, we train. But because in the beginning was Hollis, Gracie, and Carson together. But then before that, Hollis died, and then Carlos Jr. took the school, and then they kind of had each one, they had their school. Before my time going there, I still live up in the mountains when all of this happened. So when I moved to Rio, I was already separated, and I'll go just to Carlos' school in the morning. But we all friends until today. That's the funniest thing, man. I have friends with all those guys. Never had issue, no fights, never. Just competition, very rivalry in the competition. Valid, Ismail, all those guys, you name it, they were out there. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Now I know that obviously, you, like you said, you ended up in Baja de Tijuca, where the original Gracie Baja Academy was. And there's just some legendary stories about that place and the amount of people that came out of there. What do you remember about the environment there during those years in the 80s?
Man, yeah. So we moved to Baja. Was a house, the old house, and was the first academy in Baja. Okay, so it was called Gracie Baja. And it was very good because Renzo Gracie that lived in Baja, and he was like Renzo knew, and Renzo half Ryan, right? His younger brothers. Renzo knew everybody. That was like his backyard, right? And there was also a strong surf community there. So I didn't live there. So I would just go to that train, but little by little start getting to know people. But all those guys start coming. So the academy filled up fast. All these people, Renzo knew a lot of guys that bring it to the school. And we got a lot closer with Renzo and training together. So, man, it was the core. Like they have all the black and white picture, right? That you probably seen it with the instructors, and you have all the cousins there. So there was the core group. But we formed like the first big team there that was in the tournament start growing at that time because of that, because we had a big team competing with the Carson Gracie, which was like the team, right? And then we had Hickson School in the Hoyle, the Hilo Gracie School there. We would merge and make like a Gracie team and compete together. So also the tournaments were growing. That tournament started growing slowly, and building. Not what it is today, of course, but it started growing at that time as well.
You mentioned the house that you started. Was that the house where Renzo, Half, and Hyan lived together alone as like teenagers? Like there was a house that they had for a while, correct me if I'm wrong, where it was just the three of them. I think their parents had separated and the house was left just to them. And if you imagine that, I mean, like three of the wildest dudes in jiu-jitsu, Half, Renzo, and Hyan, living alone as like 19 or 20-year-old dudes. I can only imagine the stories out of that place.
Yeah, no, the house was like here, near the academy. No, the academy was a house also, but I know that house was near the academy. Yes, I remember that. That's pretty wide.
Yeah, didn't they have like mats on the floors of most of the rooms, so there was like valetudo stuff.
Man, it was how do you call it? It was like a dorm, their own dorm.
Like a fraternity house. Yeah,
there, all of these. A lot of people start training because of their house as well. They brought a lot of their friends. It was pretty interesting time. In Baja, you had Rio's a violent place. It's even more now than before, right? But before was violent, yes, but a lot of fights. And wasn't like today where people just shoot each other, right? But there was that too, but it was more about fights. So there was a lot of fights on the beach and with the surf people, and like a lot in the clubs. All the teenagers used to go, so they had students who were being in a fight. my cousins, Hanzo and his brothers, they don't want to mess with those guys, they are very short fused. And so we had many fights together growing up. And I happened to be with them, put it this way, I didn't start it. I was with them, and hell break loose, I have to do my thing. Yeah, we had a few of those. I had one with Hanzo around that time, and we go to a club, me and Hanzo, and my brothers, they're all there, but there's different dance floors, right? So they go to another side, and me and Hanzo were dancing, two girls, we're dancing. Teenagers, and man, this guy was like Hanzo was like a magnet. This dude, big guy, man, stop bumping into Hanzo. Dude's dancing, just jumping, right? And we are dancing with the girl. And I'm like, Hanzo start looking at the guy, look at me. He's like, and I'm like, Hanzo, please, look in front of you. We have let's stay focused here. Man, it didn't help. So Hanzo elbowed the guy. Don't keep bumping into me. He elbowed the guy. And I'm like, let's get out of here. So as we start walking, man, when I look where his hands, he's already jumped back into the floor. He's fighting this guy. The guy has a bunch of friends. Then I had to jump in and start taking punches from every side to cover him. So he's fighting these guys, and the guys are hitting me. Then the girls run, and they call my brothers and my other cousins, Gracie cousins. Then it's like the stormtroopers arrive, man. They jump right in, cleaning up. Imagine fighting inside a disco, man. It's like a John Travolta stuff. The floors are flashing, the globe, lights, confusing. You don't see a damn thing. There's 80 songs and people like funny pants. But, it was wild, right? Then one guy come to attack me, my brother, watch out, I just have time to duck. So it's really danger, man, fights in club. I don't like it, but I happen to be. And the guy missed me by a hair. I duck when my brother screamed at me, I duck. He punched past, I took his back, so I choked that guy out. And then Hanzo destroyed his guy. It was a mess. Man,
and, what? If you're going to be in a nightclub brawl, you're definitely on the right team. If it's the Machados and the Gracies on one side, that's the side you want to be on for sure.
No, it's survival. We always had this culture. We always we would go out in a group, never alone, because that's the city you live in. So we go in a group, and we didn't drink. We never drank or used drugs. So we are always sharp. We're always either sharp to do whatever to protect yourself, but we're always helping people too. So I was always the designated driver all my life for my friends, and stopping fights or protecting myself and others. So that's important. Remember, growing up as a martial artist, that's the idea. You're always ready.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that having the last name Machado and with your cousins having the last name Gracie, did you guys feel like you had targets on your back in Rio? I know in competition, obviously, people want to do well against you guys because you had big names in competition. What was that like in the streets? What was it like in Rio?
No, not in the city. In the city, it's a big city. It's not a problem. But of course, the Gracie family always had a target on their back because it's the founding family. So it wasn't easy growing up in the family, or for us too growing up within that family, that close. There was a lot of, it's a huge family, but it's very difficult to come up and if you have a Gracie last name, to be a champion, let's say, because there's too much pressure since you're a little kid, and the guy or a girl nowadays, the girls, they are doing fantastic as well. So, but there is a lot of pressure. Hey, and from the elders, hey, I will train this guy. I'll train this girl. I'm gonna do this. And there's a lot of pressure, and that pressure when you're too young, it's like a young tree. You can bend that tree and burn that fire too much, and then you burn the tree. So you have to, it's not easy, but that generation, we got through it. Was hard on us as well. and go on the next generation. So when it comes to my sons, to put they didn't grow up the way I did. They didn't grow up where I grew up. They grew up in America, different life. Didn't go through the experience I went. It's very difficult to put a lot of pressure on your own kids to do what you did. So learn the martial arts and you follow your own journey. You choose their path. Has to come from the person. If the person wants to do it, it's a lot of my cousins, they do the same. It's with their own kids. A lot of my Gracie cousins. It's very difficult. I think I saw Roger the other day talk about, on a podcast, talk about that to his own son. The pressure. Anyways.
Yeah, it's definitely a tremendous amount of pressure to have to come from a dynasty that in sports and in combat sports especially. I think that people would expect, the kid of this guy is going to be as good as his dad, and that's got to be a tremendous amount of pressure. And I think it's cool that you said that your generation has tried to kind of curtail that a little bit, has tried to kind of not apply that same pressure on your kids.
Yes.
Because that could be kind of a generational curse in a lot of ways, I imagine, if it just keeps going on,
I had you can see in your training, I saw growing up. So I had can happen with your relatives and friends. They're amazing. You look, it's like, man, these guys so talented. But at some point, something turned him off from pursuing, right? And it's a lot, that pressure. When they get too much pressure to perform, they can perform very well. They're very natural. They have great ability, but they have too much of that pressure. It's like a candle. You're burning both sides, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's interesting, John. There's a lot of people in jiu-jitsu that, regular people that don't have big credentials in the sport or anything like that do that to themselves. They put a lot of pressure on themselves, and they sometimes can make the journey in jiu-jitsu not be as fun as it could be because they put things in their head or they let their ego get out of control. What do you think? You talked earlier about finding purpose, and I'd kind of like to zoom in on that because I think that's a really important thing for people to hear about. What do you think is a good example of finding purpose in jiu-jitsu? What do you think is something that will keep people pursuing the art, whether they're competing or not, for the rest of their life?
Yeah, it's a very good point. So give an example. So you have to be very clear. I use the word clear a lot. So you have to be very clear about even what it means, what it means, purpose. When people say, "Oh, BJJ saved my life," or when they say BJJ Lifestyle, what does that mean? So does it mean in my time meant something totally different? Okay. For my generation, why? We grew up in a different country, different decades, different culture, no technology. The founders were alive. So there was the whole aura, right? Of magical thing of that time, right? So that meant something at that time. Nowadays, it means something else. So you have to be, so you as an individual, as a martial artist, you have to find yourself, because it is an individual journey, okay? You train it within a group, because the group, you need the peers, you need that team, because it's essential. Martial arts come from military, so armies were trained to fight, to kill, whatever. Started like that. So you need that peers, you need your brother, you need your sister, you need that. But it is a solo journey as a martial artist, and you need to find within yourself your purpose. So I'm very clear, and doesn't matter. So I tell guys that compete, I say, what do you want? Do you want to fame? Just be clear about that's what you want. You want to be known. Okay. You want to make your name? All right, that's good. Or if it's a fighter, I train, UFC fighters, professional fighters. As one of the first things I ask, and why do you fight? Why do you want to fight? So there was the guy, never want to fight a guy who wants to buy a house for his mother. The guy that comes from the bottom, I'll buy the house for my mama. Man, you don't want to fight this dude. This guy, it's a scary dude.
Yeah, right? He's hungry. Yeah.
Or the guy, you see those guys from Khabib, those guys, man, they fight for their country, in their culture, with their religion even. These are a tough opponent. You need to have you gotta be mentally up to that level to fight this guy, right? So I think that it's something that I see very clearly, but it's something people don't explore a lot even in professional fights, which is more like the psychology of it. You need to have a strong purpose to be able to win in anything, to win in life, right? You heard of Viktor Frankl? Yes. So Viktor Frankl was a Jewish man who went to a concentration camp voluntarily. He couldn't get out, but his grandparents were there. And so his whole study is on purpose. He took the concentration camp. That was his purpose. Let me study because he was already studying that subject. Let me make a thesis here. I want to see who lives and who dies. Of course he survived. See, he came with a purpose. He saw people dying, people surviving. And you need a purpose to survive. So so purpose is key in anything you do. Like you're in Brazil. What's your purpose in Brazil, right? You must know those things. So what am I working for? What am I trying to accomplish? And so this apply inside the mat and outside the mat. So people today, this generation, they have is an age of information, which it's great. It's great. I'm knowledge-based oriented. I'm for the knowledge, but it's too much information. It's almost like an overdose. It's too much, but there is less formation. See, so you got to have that balance. So you live in the best age where we can be talking right now, and this interview can go to many people. We can watch videos of unlimited videos of fighters, interviews, and so this is amazing. But you need to balance with formation. So not just information. It stuns you. Where do you go now with all this information? You need to be able to put it together to have that balance. And that's a challenge of our times now.
It is. Yeah. I think a lot of people struggle to find purpose in life in general. But what I've seen also in jiu-jitsu is I've known a lot of guys that were good at jiu-jitsu, or at least trained for a long time and stuck around and got to a decent level, and who end up kind of coming to a point in their life where it's like, man, I got a family now, and I'm in my 40s, and I've done this for a long time. I competed a lot. I don't really know, like, now that I'm a black belt, I don't really know why I'm still doing this. I'm going to kind of shift gears and kind of focus on other things in my life. And then sometimes they don't come back. And it's like, man, that's, whatever, it's their life. But I think part of what's lacking there is maybe just the purpose, like not understanding why they couldn't recognize why they wanted to come back to jiu-jitsu or not. And,
yes, but look, yeah, they had a motivation to start. So the beginning was fun. Oh, this is new art. And but they get to a point, right? They need to have, it's like you have a target, right? In your training, you get to that point, you need now to set up a different target. And it can never end otherwise. So I've been doing this for so long. So if I don't do that with my own self, I have no reason to train, no reason to do. I don't even want to see jiu-jitsu in front of me. Make sense? So how do you work then? So I'm always, how can I improve what I'm doing here? It's knowledge-based. You cannot stop. The knowledge can't stop. If it stops, you start going back. You're going to be left behind. So you have to be constant studying the subject. I watch everything. Doesn't mean I'm on the internet, but I get my students send me a link. They know already. I have different groups for my student on the phone. They see something, send me the link. So whoever is winning, whoever is whatever, I watch some of their fights. Because of my eyes, I can break down their game very fast. I don't have to watch all of their fights. So I watch one fight, I break down, and I know how to set up a strategy. I do that in my own mind. Doesn't matter if I'm going to train somebody to fight that guy. It's not about that. It's my own evolution as a martial art. And then when they're going to have fights, top champ is going to fight. And I already know if that guy doesn't have a strategy to fight his game, he's done. And it's funny because they don't. I go there, 30 seconds, 1 minute into the fight, the guy has he's already has a cross face on the guy. It's over. Because I know that guy's game. You see my point? So this is an exercise. So when I go to a camp or with my own students, but when I go teach, say, we had a Big Brothers camp, and I see high belt, the first question I ask is, what are you working on? Doesn't matter what I'm going to teach. It's not about that. And I'm working on, they're not working on anything. Because if you're working on something, it's an immediate response. And the guy started, I'm working on everything, it's bullshit. So the guy's mind needs to be always working on something in his game, regardless how long you've been doing the art. And that keeps you motivated and keeps you progressing, right? And that's how I operate, my mind operates. I'm knowledge-based. Well, how can I learn more? How can I watch this? I think I play the chess game in my head, and I make answers, whatever people are doing. And yes, so if you don't do that, you're ready. And that happens a lot. Because I met many black belts when I was growing up. They were like, I would look up to, oh, look at this guy, very talented individual. And then as I got older, I got black belt, and years passed, came to America, and I started developing these understandings about martial art. And I would run into these guys again. They were older, and they still doing whatever they were doing 30 years ago. And they spar the same. Hey, let's do something. And they fight like if they were 20 years old. So they got stuck in that time frame. Okay? Psychologically, it's like you see these people, they get stuck in the high school. Oh, when I was in shape, when I was I played football, I used to do that. Or when I was in boot camp, I went to the army, I was like, man, 100 lean. I'm like, brother, you're overweight, you're obese now. This is the reality now. Let's work on your health, your lifestyle. I don't say that, but what I'm trying to say is it's very common. You get stuck where your life was good. That's why people, they're always like, I talk from experience. When I came to America, something funny, I would be in the first years, like a decade of America, I would find myself like, oh man, I'm so homesick, Brazil. I remember my hometown. So when they had like a Google Earth and the maps, I would let it go for hours. I would go back to my hometown on the computer and just go through those streets. Let me see my old house. Let me see. But this is not good. That's like you can get stuck into that. You know what I mean? On that loop. That's not healthy. Wasn't different. I was learning about it, I don't do that no more. But what happens in jiu-jitsu happens in life. You get stuck. You need to be evolving, constantly evolving, always in present time. And that's what martial arts does for us. When you go training, it's so healthy because when people go to the gym, you cannot think about anything else. You're in there. It's you and your partner. Have to protect your neck. Have to do this. You have to do your techniques. So it's a very therapeutic jiu-jitsu for that matter.
I think that's what's helped keep me hooked for so long is that, there's always a new aspect of jiu-jitsu to work on. There's always something to improve. And I also find that if I really focus on one thing, like let's say that I'm struggling with guard passes of a particular type, and I really focus on that for a while, it then makes me realize things about the guard in general. Like, okay, I'm passing this way and they're doing this. I should be doing that too, because I don't do that with my guard. And then it leads me right back to working on the guard again. And one thing just chains off into another and it just never ends. I think the second thing that jiu-jitsu's done for me, as far as keeping me hooked onto it, is it provides a really transferable value to my life, where basically, life is very chaotic, and jiu-jitsu and being in a fight is very chaotic. But I think jiu-jitsu brings order to chaos, right? And that's really helped me kind of apply to my life, dealing with stress and dealing with problem solving and things like that. So that's kind of been my purpose. You have tons of students. What do you think have been some of the big purposes you see in your students? Like what, for the guys that don't compete and aren't in it for competition, what are some of the main purposes you see other people have?
So, let's say this is in the first 10 years of America, we had a huge competition team. All the brothers, we call the RCJ, the initials of the brothers, Higa, Roger, Carlos, John, and Jean. So we had this huge team, the first black belts in America. We had the first world champions, and we promoted the first American, the first African American, the first Mexican, the first Filipino, the first Australian black belt. We accomplished so much in that sense, and then we had this huge team. We in one school had 60 competitors. So at the first tournament we did in Brazil, they brought 60 guys. My school alone had 60. So me and my brothers, of course, and so we had the biggest team in America for that 10 years. But that later changed. We got older. Now we are Americanized and understanding we are in a different place, and we need to evolve as well, the way we teach and the way we do things, because Brazil was like, you train differently in those days. Okay, so we were focused on build, but there was a purpose to build that team. I said, we need to make a team. We need to make a name for ourselves, right? None of my brothers, we pursued Vale Tudo, MMA, or UFC. We didn't like that, to go in cage, fight people. Nothing against, we train people, need help, we train throughout the years, we train people, but that's not our path. But I had that purpose, so we traveled the globe multiple times, all the brothers, doing seminars. We sparred everyone in every seminar, right? All the experienced guys, not just white belt, but the experienced guys, and we submitted everybody, and we shared knowledge, and so we made was like really when I travel, I saw myself as a missionary. I'm here to cause an impact on these people's lives. They remember me once I leave this place. And I have countless stories in Europe, you name it, from all over the globe, Israel and like Middle East and everywhere. And what I would do, my brothers, they would share stories, and like the tough guys show up and the same how we get the guy. And so we caused an impact in so many different ways. We're the first ones to go in many countries as well in those days. But so nowadays, back to what I was saying, so the past competition, so the impact and the purpose of the students, it depends. When all the guys come to the school, these are guys are like, man, I'm in a time of my life, I can do this right now. My kids have grown up, right? Usually, so it's more for their lifestyle, right? The guy stay healthy, find an art form that he can practice, or as a hobby for him to get better. And also find guys like their health is really bad because almost like I need to do something about it. I cannot go to a gym, lift weights. I want to maybe start this. And so I focus on the older guys, more the lifestyle approach. Hey man, let's stay healthy, meet good people. They're good for your mind. You need to socialize with brothers, men with other men. You need to talk to them and develop a group of people. And I tell the guys, man, then build this group, go out together, try and meet each other. So I have a culture, people go to each other's house, and people build friendship in this group. I push that a lot. When you start young, or the younger guys, these are the guys that from there, hey, I want to compete, I want to do this, they have full potential. Because they're starting younger, and if they want to go that direction, and I have a competition team, then we build, okay, go to competition. Then we do extra training for that, and to learn about, and we extra days to get better, get in shape. That's like any competitor.
I like that you said that you saw yourself as like a missionary for jiu-jitsu, and you've gone all over the world with this message and with this art. That really is cool. One of the ways that you and your brothers have impacted and spread jiu-jitsu is through film and TV. Tell us about that. Like what makes you so passionate about film? What do you enjoy most about working with TV and film projects?
The film happened naturally because we're teaching people like Chuck Norris back in the day. So think that. So we're teaching Chuck Norris when he was 50 years old. Chuck Norris was like big performance when we came to America, and the actors start coming and training with us. Also, the guys that were stunt coordinators, they were martial artists as well. They were also training with us, and the invitations came, hey, let's go. You want to work in this film? So my first movie I went with my brother Hagen was called Kickboxer 4. There's one with Van Damme, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Then the other ones were done with Sasha Mitchell, who's an amazing guy. And so Kickboxer 4. And man, I fell in love with the process. And then I was like, man, I like this stuff. I had no idea it was so much fun. And so in my own way, this kept happening, but I started studying acting as well. I had a student who was a theater coach. So in my old school, hey, man, I want to learn about, read books, find the actors you like. It's almost like, look, art forms like jiu-jitsu. You find guys that you like. Let's say you find a fighter who you like his style. You can take stuff from him. So you see actors that you like, and you can take special techniques from that guy that apply to you. So as an actor, right? And so I started learning, you can do that. Great, I do that. Performance is easy. So the performance is what we're doing right now, to talk to someone, talk on camera. I was like, okay, I've been teaching seminars every place I go. I walk in a place, I don't know anybody in another language, in another country. And I go and I teach these people for 3-4 hours, and they loved it. So that's performance. So the seminar has this performance element. It's not a class at the academy. It's a whole different ballgame. So there was a little bit of that performance element. Doesn't matter if you're tired or if you had a bad day, whatever, the jet lag, you go in there, you're like, man, boom, action. Full performance. Put your energy. The guys, man, let's go. Papa, you train by that. Good energy. Time for them to do this. Okay, now let's go here, Papa. You have a question. Papa. Keep interactive. So these skills I had, I'm like, that's like acting. You learn the lines and you do the performance, learn some techniques. But it kept going. There's Steven Seagal, and then it never ended. And then as we branched out, each brother went to one location in LA first. Carlos came to Texas, right? In 95, I stayed in LA until 2013. I raised all my kids there, mission accomplished for LA, came to Texas. But our network just exploded. Why? Guys that trained for us, they became leaders in the industry. So the friends we had back in the day that were doing what we're doing, they became directors, producers, you name it. So we know so many people, directors, writers, all the top stunt people. Guys, that's the direct John Wick today. These are friends of ours back in the day. They weren't directors back then. They were like young martial artists, and that we worked together with them. Like Chad. Chad is the director of the John Wick series, and I worked with him in a movie where he come to the school. We knew these guys as martial artists first. So we developed a relation. It's all who you know. It's all relationship. Through the years, and they grow because you know people for 20 years now, or longer. People like, man, there's that trust, So we have that. So the movies keep happening. It's mostly myself and Hagen, my brother Hagen, that do that. We have that fire, and we keep doing all the time.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love what you said there about teaching and especially running seminars and things like that being a performance and how that carried over and helped you. That really is an important aspect of being a teacher, is being a good communicator. I mean, you really are doing a public speaking thing every day. You're talking to a crowd of people or a group of people. What do you think are some other really important ingredients of like a good instructor besides good communication and the ability to express yourself well to a crowd?
I think that you have to know your subject, or know your craft. You have to know what you're doing, right? So that's number one. You must know what you're doing. And when you're running a class, who is your crowd? Just like I'm mixing already with public speaking, who you're speaking to, right? So you're teaching a beginner class. It's like me. It's like teaching 10-year-olds. Don't go high. My beginner class is super basic. See, and all my instructors, I said, no, you're going to teach more basic. No complicated, simple stuff. They need to have a good foundation. Take their time in that foundation. Be good at it. In that foundation. No rush. And this I do to all the guys. The difference is that for the younger guys, I speed them up. Why? Because for the guy who's more capable, if you hold him back, you're not helping him. But the classes, everyone, I keep super basic, but the guys that did some wrestling before, or they are very capable, very, fit, and they learn faster, I move them up faster. I start bringing them to the advanced class earlier to be exposed to those guys. See? Because those guys, so the higher belts are helping the lower belt. So it's not just I have to teach every single detail every day. No, I built all those advanced guys, and then, which is from black belts to brown, purple belt, and the blue belt, right? So, but the top guys, they keep helping the lower belt. So in my culture, you have this trickle down effect, right? So the high belt can get a lower belt and submit him, but don't get the guy 10 times. There's no point in that. You can get to catch and release, catch, release, and, but there's a time, hey, just help the lower belt. You don't have to do when you're really training, but you have a time for that. So that culture, so they always bring the guy, hey, under the wing, they help each other. So it's an easier format for everybody. Because when I was training, I had multiple people doing that to me. So my brothers will help me, the older belt. When they're training, they'll get me, of course, or the higher belt or my older brothers. But there was a lot of moments of helping, not sparring, because not every time you're sparring, you're drilling. Right? The culture of drills, you got to do a lot of drills and positional training. Hey, let me just try open your guard, whatever. Let me just try pass your guard. Keep simple. Not every time let's go and shake hands and a full roll every single time. And then you sharpen those little areas. So that's the kind of how they go.
I would assume that you always your whole life knew that jiu-jitsu would be what you do for a career forever, but you have an interesting degree that you got. You got a degree in environmental farming. What sparked you to do that? Did you see a career in that, or is it just something you wanted to learn?
I didn't really have an idea I would be teaching jiu-jitsu at all my whole life. None
really?
Of that.
See, that surprises me. That surprises me. Okay.
I trained as a martial artist in Brazil, always with that philosophy, right? Jiu-jitsu is part of my life. So I'm always going to be training. My closeness with the Gracie family and my brothers. But this was in 1989. So I came like the beginning of 1990. Okay. So how old are you now? You?
I'm 39.
39?
I was born in 1985. Yeah.
Oh man, so far. You look young. I was thinking, man, this guy's like,
thank you.
He's younger than that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll take it.
You're doing good, man. I had to make a big decision because I had a kid very early. My oldest son was born in 89. And then I was looking at life different at that point. So I had a wife and a little baby, and I had to make a decision, right? And my father was alive at the time, and he told me, hey, you got to make a decision. So good parenting. He gave me that talk when I needed. And that's when my brother Hagen called. And he was with Horion, my cousins here. But he wanted to explore. I want to train wrestling and compete in sambo. I want to do stuff like this, right? At that time, there was no competitions of any type. So he wanted to train more wrestling, compete in sambo. He was just working. He needed help. And he was calling for my brother Carlos. And I got that phone call. And I'm like, it stood in my mind. I said, you know what? I'm going to go. So I told him, say, you know what? I want to go there. Because you go to America, the idea was I would come, I wanted to learn English. And that was my plan. I want to learn English and go to school, do something, study. I wanted to study and grow. I wanted to grow. So when I came to him, and I was a new black belt, I became black belt in that year, 89. So I was thinking, I'm going to go, maybe spend, I don't know, young guy. I'll stay here 6 months, a year, learning English, right? Because the visa, you could stay. At that time, you get a 6 months, then you could renew for another 6 months. It was very simple, America then. Flying was such a great experience. Flying was easy. And that's the visa situation. So I got 6 months. I said, okay, I'm going to go learn English, do all of that. And finish, go to school here, and go back to Brazil, whatever. And I was already on my path to study agriculture. But what happened, so I came, and my father died. Sudden. Just my father had a heart, boom, drop dead. Oh. So in my family, when my father died, it's like, man, it took the ground. You know, I was like, so it was me and Carlos, we came together, my oldest brother. I'm the youngest and Carlos the oldest. And Hagen was here. And then that's when I said, you know what? And I my father's not there anymore. But we had 2 brothers in Brazil. I spoke to our mom. Mom, you okay? Do you want us to go back? You know, for you? Because my father's not there anymore. You know, I had that approach. So I'm going to stay here now because now I have a son. And then it changed, right? And I was a young black belt, and I was already trained wrestling. I was like, man, in love with the United States. So I said, I need this. There's a reason we are here. So we're already teaching Chuck Norris. Things happen really fast. In another 6 months, we opened our first school with Chuck Norris. Of course, with his help. Otherwise, it would take a lot longer because you need money, to a bunch of stuff, and Chuck just opened the school for us. Here are the keys. Go start teaching in the Valley, San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles. And so things happen fast, and man, I didn't look back. Yeah, boom, 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 boom. It wasn't a plan, you know. It's part of my life, would always be part of my life, but I never thought I would be an immigrant at all. Hey, I tell that myself that I never thought. To be an immigrant is a very hard life. When you're starting on your own, no support, we're starting something that was unknown, you know. Then you have to learn a whole different culture, a whole different way of working, of making money, Americans are very practical, and Brazil is very, you live in Brazil, it's still the same, so people, hey, let's go. No, the time frame, everything works different. Yeah, it's
very very laid back. Yeah, it's very
laid back,
very casual.
And especially when you grew up, and it's about the arts, very artistic. So it was a cultural shock for us. But hey, like I was saying, it was that balance. We needed that balance, and it helped us grow here.
That's incredible, man. That's really incredible. You said you were really young when you had your son. How old were you when you became a dad?
I was 19.
That's young. That's young.
Super young. Yeah. But look, I had a son thinking I'm going to live in Brazil. I had cousins that had young kids.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had a ranch, and life was good.
Yeah.
And but it is, that's how it goes.
Were you scared? Were you scared to be a dad?
No, I was excited to be a dad. Like I wanted to be a dad. So I was excited, and I was in my nature to start things young. I was like, man, I'm ready. Let's do it. I still with my wife until today. I had another 3 kids, so I have 4 kids. I had another boy and 2 girls. Okay, so I have 4 total, and I still married my same wife.
That's amazing, man. Good for you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is really cool. That's really cool.
I survived.
You survived. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cool that, like you said, like when you talked about the life of an immigrant and how when you show up to a place, so that's something a lot of people, like, we all know what immigrants are, obviously, but we don't think about from their perspective. Like, man, you really are like in a new place, new language, new culture, don't know anybody. I mean, you might have connections if you show up, depending who you are. But yeah, that really is like a huge shift in life, and it's interesting to hear someone with a perspective of that share that. So I appreciate it.
And that gives you a total different perspective for that you live through it, so you can help people as well. When you guide people, because people, they go to another country. Oh yeah, I'm here, this and that. I'm like, man, this guy needs 1 year to kind of even to step on the ground. He needs time. The guys, they want to rush things and then after 5 years, he arrived. It takes time, and these guys, they are rush. It's not like when you went to Brazil, man. It takes time to adjust, right? In the beginning, you think, oh, everything is like colorful. The next thing is like, okay, this is that. You start understanding how to navigate in that culture, in that country, how to deal with people, how to set up times. The guys, okay, here they don't show up on time. Okay, you calculate and you adapt and you kind of make it work. And so it's that's a progress. When I came to Texas, the same. When people move here, say, hey, man, chill out. You're in Texas, the South. So give yourself time, So you kind of you learn that lesson, already.
How big was the shift between California and Texas? Was it pretty dramatic? Like adjusting?
Very dramatic.
Was it?
Very dramatic. So I would say Texas it's a real America to me, and so it's people can take everything political. So it's however they take it, it's all right. But you gotta understand the policies where you live, how that affects your reality, right? So California, I think it is the most beautiful state. You can be on the beach, in the mountains, the desert. It's a gorgeous place. California. The weather is incredible. It's always 70 degrees. Like in Brazil, it'll be like 21, 22 degrees centigrados. It's like perfect. Not too cold, not too hot. Man, ideal weather. But what happens is it start becoming more anti-business, anti-work, anti-growth. And I've seen that happening before in Brazil, okay? So I'm like, oh, interesting. It looks like Brazil now. I've seen that before. In Texas, what I see in Texas was growth. So, because I used to come here, work a lot, see my brother and do work with him. So I said, it's time to do the transition. So my kids were big enough. I'm like, let's get out of here. Let's go there. And I just grew. All my kids are independent. They all grew. All of my boys and girls, they all work. They're all independent. And California, I don't know how that be. You see, because it just became more and more restrictive. Imagine on the mats, you train jiu-jitsu, and somebody tells, no, you cannot choke. No choke allowed. I'm like, oh, you're taking weapons away, right? No, then you go, no arm bar. I'm like, what? What am I doing here? Then you keep going, hey, no takedowns. I'm like, what? I have to jump guard, and Is sweep okay? You're almost back. Can I at least sweep? So it's kind of to police. They do that. They change the rules of the game. So Texas, there is a future here. Whoever comes here, there's a future. Not Texas, the South in general, and in those states, I don't see a future. Okay, so I think which brings me to a subject, because you're talking about purpose, and I want to mention the project that I did. I think I mentioned to you on the phone briefly, but this is the project I started. Okay, so the book that I did. So it's not in Portuguese. Okay, so this is the book. It has a 100 principle of jiu-jitsu that you can use for life and business. So I have a co-author who is one of my students, long-time student. He's an Indian guy, businessman, and he owns a AI platform. He's been working on AI for a long time. So over 2 years ago, we started. He approached me to develop an AI for jiu-jitsu. I'm like, I don't know any AI. How do we do this? I said, no. So we're gonna, no worries. So I have to teach the AI how to answer, and then I would work with the AI and report back to him. So we did that. That was the first project for a whole year, just doing that back and forth. So the idea of the AI is so my job is that there's a denomination called prompt engineer, right? So you are teaching the AI how to talk. It's like the AI is very powerful, but you have to teach the AI how to answer, how to gather information. So I have a teaching methodology that I use, which is based on the number 3. So any technique that I teach, it is no more than 3 steps. You can have 2 steps, but no more than 3. Never. So it goes 3 steps. Okay. So there's beginning, middle, and end of a move. So if you're doing an arm drag, you're going to hold the wrist, you pass, control the hand behind the elbow, or the camera's here, right? Boom, boom. You take the back, right? So that's 3 steps. It's not like 4, there's no 5. If anything continues, you start another loop of 3s. It's always 3s, then comes another 3, and 3, and 3, and 3, right? So, which is has to do with the triangle, with the way my brain works. It works. So the AI, I said, no, it has to follow my methodology. So we made like in 3, so there's only 3 steps. It's a very concise explanation. So and of course he owns the platform. He would tweak the AI. So we develop an AI coach, AI. You can spar with the AI. You can compete against an AI. Right now the AI is all, you type it. Hey, I shoot a double leg. He'll play with you on these 3 days. And he'll do things to you. Then you have to defend. So you can literally fight with the AI, or it can be instructional, can be a curriculum base. So you have different options in the AI within his platform. So the AI right now is not huge because in his company, the purpose is to develop the thing itself, the AI, because it's so new. People, how do I use this? People use ChatGPT, which I use all the time as well, but used for writing, now has image, you can use for all kind of stuff. But the ChatGPT, you talk ChatGPT, he'll give like a huge, he'll put a bunch of stuff here and there, he'll make a big confusion. The AI we develop is very specific. So anyways, it's hard even for me to explain, but that goes into this AI world. So later, what I develop will grow because other AIs will use that AI as a platform. So it's stuff like that I can explain. But anyhow, from that experience, I wanted to write a book, but the book about concepts, right? Because you mentioned about California, you mentioned about Texas. I grew up in Brazil, and I'm from the 80s. So in my life experience, I don't like the way things are going in many aspects in society in general. Okay, and so I need to. So the idea of the book is to step out of the bubble of my class or the people that knows me. Hey, Master Joe Machado. I already know. I talk to them, my students, the people that I know, that I teach, go seminars. The book has a life of its own. So the key of the book is to occupy that space, and like I see many key people do it. Jacko is doing his own way, like bring his military experience to the world and helping people. So we need to, the idea is to make leaders, help build new leaders out in this generation of so much confusion, like we said. And I think the Jiu-Jitsu, it's one of the greatest tools for self-improvement. And I know you have your own stories, how Jiu-Jitsu helped you to become a better man, a better person, right? And the Jiu-Jitsu, and you said it there not long ago as well, that how the lessons you learn in Jiu-Jitsu inside the dojo, they apply to your life outside the dojo, right? How by learning to solve problems, and the concept, they are the same. So this for many years I've been doing for my students, consulting for people, because I can you learn to break down any problem and solve it on the mat, but you can also use that understanding in solving life. So I've been doing that for a long time on the side, which is consulting for students, people that I know, of course, and business guys on problem solving. So you don't have to know about the guy expertise. You don't have to be an engineer to solve. You're not solving engineer problem. You're teaching the engineer to solve his problem, his own problem. And then he'll solve his own engineering problem, his business problem. So because it starts with the human being, it starts with the martial artist. See, a student comes to the school, he becomes a better human being. He's more confident. He learns all these new skills, has this whole new tool belt at his disposal. Now he's like Batman, right? So now with that power, all of a sudden his life gets better. It's no accident, right? But that's what happens. But usually what happens is we also spoke before, they disappear because their life got better. And now when your life expands, you get more busy. But that busy, you have to remember, you got busy because you're like, you got to be able to break down, because you expanded, because you started doing those things for you to grow, which is your jiu-jitsu, your martial arts, right? The guy has a bunch of demons in his head. He goes to church, okay? All of a sudden, the guy doesn't have any more demons in his head. Life is so good. Now he's living life, he's happy, and he stops going to church. So what happened later, man, those demons will come back, Same thing in health. The guy is, I'm pre-diabetic, I'm overweight, right? Then he start eating good lifestyle. Now he's healthy, right? Then, thanks to his training, he's doing good, all of this. Then, now his life gets better. Then he stops doing what got him better. So it is the mind is working into this dichotomy, it's back and forth, it's black and white. So you have to learn to navigate through your own self, master yourself this way. So, and the book was for that. So the book was, with my student, I gave the concept to him. So hours of recording. So we did it, we put it together, right? With his help, he's my co-author, and he helped me put examples for business, from the business world, that apply to each concept. So you can open any page and you read a concept, and then you see, and you don't have to read from beginning to end. So it's a very cool book, and we did very well with the book. And then what's the AI involved in this? So with the AI, I got the same book, and with his AI, and we made the kids version. So we made a version. We have one version for teens here. Okay, being a superhero. So it's called the Guardians of the Gi Concepts, but it's a smaller book, right? That's the teen. Then we made one for preteens, a 12-year-old. Okay, so he is called Rising Titans. Tales for Teens to Transform Your Life. Okay, so it's all about leadership. So it's simpler. And then we made one for children. So it's called Furry Tales with Jiu-Jitsu Trail. It's like a little animal book. Has some little short stories, super thin, so somebody can read the little stories, pictures. It's animal stories with some principles. So these, of course, is part of because the AI, it's here now. That's why you got to stay up to present time. So it's as a technology to help us do what we do better. So if you're a creator, the AI is going to help you. If you're not, you might lose your job. That's the new saying. You're going to lose your job, not to AI, but to someone that's using AI. You heard that?
I have. Absolutely, I have. Yeah. That's really cool. John, where can people find those books?
It's all on Amazon. Yeah. With Amazon, put my name, they come up. And so the main title is from roles to roles. So it's rhyme, right? So from roles, and you say, hey, let's roll to roles in companies, etc. Right? So there's so I think that's the if you're a martial artist, and that's my conversation, a lot of people, man, you invest 10 years of your life, man, that's a PhD. You're a PhD, and you have to understand what you know. So that's why it's knowledge-based. So not just be a good fighter, but the fighting aspect, it pass. Get the knowledge, because as a good martial artist, it's for life. And older you get, stronger you are. And when you're 20s, you're 30s, and you're 40s, man, you're still super juiced up, super strong, but you have that knowledge, and it just grows. And that's why the balance in the lifestyle is key, because you can have a guy who's a champion, but he's taking steroids from morning to night, and he doesn't believe in any diet. All he cares about winning the medal. It's all about the performance. He's willing to do anything for the performance. Look, people do whatever they want to do. But then what's going to happen, he'll pass that phase, because everyone passed that phase. It's hard to swallow for some guys when you can't keep up with your training. You have injuries, you have things happen, and you don't have the drive anymore, because it's the normal part of life. Now you have other things you want to do. But by the time they get to their prime mentally, which will be 40s and 50s, a lot of guys are already wasted. They are broken. Their mind's not healthy. They have they abuse their bodies, and and so, man, that's your best phase. So I really believe in the longevity of jiu-jitsu. That's something that Carlos Ruiz used to talk about. And I really, the older I get, more I see what a visionary he was. The longevity, that's key for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, then that goes right back to the purpose thing is what is your purpose? If your purpose is only to compete, well, then you're only going to practice jiu-jitsu for as long as your body can compete. And then that's when you see a lot of guys fall off. They stop training just because it's like, well, I've hit a point where I've either got repetitive injuries or I've gotten a little older in age, and now I just don't feel like I can compete the same anymore. So I'm going to move on to other things. And it's like, man, that's a bummer, because that guy, he was really good. He could have been a good teacher. He could have just continued to be a great training partner to help other people get better and teach younger competitors all the stuff that he knew. So yeah, you're right. Longevity is something very important for sure. John, I'll tell you what, man, we've reached a point of the show here. This is where I always play a game with my guest. This is a game called The Pummel. The Pummel is a series of random questions. Some of these are about jiu-jitsu. Some of them have nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. But if you're down to play The Pummel, I'd love to play this game with you.
Man, let's do it.
All right, man. Question one. What's
the
largest animal you think you could beat in a hand-to-hand fight?
man, the largest animal in a hand-to-hand.
No weapons, just your jiu-jitsu versus an animal.
The jiu-jitsu, man, it could be, man, I would say a horse. A horse. If you know where to punch, you can get him. If he kick you, you're done. But you can punch him, he will run.
You know what? Most people, I would doubt them, but you've been on Walker, Texas Ranger. You're in Texas now. Plus you're John Machado. So I believe in you. I believe you could take a horse.
You gotta know where to hit him.
Yeah. You gotta make sure you don't miss, right?
Oh man.
If you found a genie lamp and you could make 3 wishes, same standard genie rules apply. No killing people, no wishing for more wishes. What 3 wishes would you make?
So I would say number 1, I will ask him for more wisdom. Number 1, more wisdom in life. And number 2, I would say to at the same time ask to be humble with their wisdom. Okay, so I have good control. And then last, man, give me power so I can do what I really want to do.
That's awesome. Good wishes. I like that. Very good wishes. What do you think is the worst job that you ever had?
Man, I had so many little jobs starting. I cannot look back and say it's the worst because it's all learning. I enjoyed it. Even though it sucked, I delivered pizza. I did, you name it. In the first years I was little jobs I was doing before jiu-jitsu started, but it's all learning experience. It's all good.
That is good. That is good. Which one sucked the most though? Which one?
They stuck at points, but it's good. It's all learning.
Good. I love it. I love it. Good answer. Good answer. What do you think is a secret talent that you have that people might not know about?
Look, a secret talent. I really want to help people. Nice. See, I have a drive to help people. I like to see people doing better. It can be my students, my family, and start with me. I want to do better myself, but my students, and I want to help people get better.
That's excellent. That's excellent. It's definitely a good talent to be able to help people for sure. What do you think
being able to help people? So I'd say being able to help people.
Being able to help people.
So that would be more specific.
That's a great talent for sure. What do you think is your favorite bad food to eat? What's your favorite junk food?
Man, the favorite junk food I would say would be, ice cream.
Ice cream.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's the favorite junk food, and I keep only for rewards. I'll get an ice cream. It's like a reward for sales. I don't even buy it. If you go to my fridge, I have none. Only buy because I like it. It's really good. Because you have think about it. They put butter, and they have fat, protein, and sugar, right? It's like food, you very driven.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think was the scariest moment of your life?
Man, I almost drowned one time, and in Brazil. I feel more than once, but I got pulled by a riptide, and I was visiting Brazil. I was in Rio, and I had my twins. I have 2 kids that are twins. My middle 2 kids. I was on the beach, and they had a soccer ball, one of those not soccer ball, the plastic ones, and the wind blew the ball in the water. And I jumped in the water, but it was very windy, man. And then the ball went behind the waves, and I started swimming to catch the ball. And the riptide pulled me, right? So when I turned, man, I saw my kids small on the beach, 2 kids, little kids. And I was like, man, immediate, right? It's like, holy shit, I'm on a riptide. And I'm looking at my kids, man, if I drown here, for I go to open sea, yeah, it's over. No lifeguards, nothing. Who's going to find me, right? And so then the quick mental, but immediately, of course, the martial arts mentality, stay focused, just swing to the side, patience. I had to swing, man, out of the riptide to come back. Took me a while, but my kids were safe. I got back. There was before I got pulled in a riptide by myself, I was a teenager, it's no big deal. This time as an adult, and I was visiting, when I was visiting Brazil, man, my kids were alone on the set, 2 little kids, maybe like 7 years old to 7 years old.
Oh, That's a scary one, man. That's a very scary one. I got stuck in a riptide in Ubatuba here in Sao Paulo. So it happens so fast, and so what you described, I've been through it. It's very
but you can't panic. You never
surprising.
panic. I never panicked it, and I'm very cool under pressure. So I'm just, what do I gotta do here? Just go that way. I don't panic.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I'm glad that ended up okay. Who do you think is your favorite MMA fighter of all time?
Of all time? Oh, man, I had a pick one. It's because it has different eras. I would say I'll pick like I pick a modern guy. If I say my uncle, blah, blah, of course, they all had their, I would say in these modern days, I would say I would have to go with Khabib.
Good choice. Good choice. Yeah, good choice. How about your favorite grappler of all time?
Let's pick look, I look at grapplers, it's like I have to separate. If I think a grappler, I gotta know him well, the person, the human being, but I can separate. Forget the guy. I see it. His proficiency in his performance right now. So I would say, of course, Gordon Ryan, the way he dominates now. On the heavyweight, and I don't see, depending on his health, how his health's going to handle, how his body can take it, all of the training. But I like this generation of new guys coming up now. The Mika, Galvão. Yeah. I love these kids, man. Yeah. Him and what is the other one? Baby Shark, the little guy. Yeah. I love these little guys. I like they started the Rotolo, bro. Oh man, these are my favorites. Will be these group of guys now, the Rotolo brothers, Mika, Baby Shark, and Nike. Their ability is just incredible.
Yeah,
fun
great
to watch.
Choices.
And what is the other one? Fabricio, the other one.
Yeah, Fabricio Andre. Yeah, absolutely.
I forgot his nickname. But you know who I'm talking about. He used to be from the same team. I guess he left.
Yeah. Excellent choices, man. Those are definitely some of my favorite.
What a generation, this kid, man.
Incredible.
I love it.
Incredible. Yeah, it gets deeper and deeper every generation. It's amazing.
Going back, of course, Roger and Jacare, I saw those guys. They came after my time in incredible. So I got to see Jacare and Roger, the General Garcia. So they had Terere,
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Legends for sure, man. What do you think is your, find another good question for you here. What's your biggest phobia?
Man, I can't think of any phobia because I would say I cannot think of anything. I confront things, in whatever the phobia. Ocean, awesome. Deep ocean was one, and I swam all my life in the ocean and seen sharks, and I'll do couple the riptides. Ocean was kind of like I had that fear a little bit, and I conquered.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. What do you think is your most hated food? What's something you cannot eat no matter what?
Hated food would be like that I don't eat. It would be like squid or stuff like that from the ocean, squids and like the jelly kind of oysters and like that. Man, I have friends, they swear by it's, I'm like, man, not me. I stay out of that.
Nothing slimy
with, but I don't eat that stuff.
Yeah, nothing slimy with tentacles. I got you. Yes. I got you. Who do you think's your favorite superhero?
Superhero?
Yeah.
Was I? Superman. Let's say Superman.
Superman. Nice. If you could have a superpower, what would you choose?
Man, flying. Holy cow. Flying. Yeah. That's the real 3D vision, is if you can fly,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And final question for the Pummel Game, John. If a zombie apocalypse happens right now in Texas, what's the first thing you do?
Man, I'll grab some of my guns, which I have a bunch, have plenty of guns. And I have plenty of place to go with plenty of people with guns. It's going to be really like those shows. We're going to have a compound and then we're going to shoot all of them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Texas is probably the best place you could possibly be during a zombie apocalypse.
That's where they filmed the Walking Dead. They filmed here for that reason, man. It's filmed all here.
And John, that was the final question for the Pummel Game. Congratulations, you win. You got your double underhooks.
Oh, brother. Thank you.
Of course. John, what are some of your major goals for 2024? What are some things you hope to accomplish this year?
So I have projects that I have a great network of friends here and that work in the film industry. So I have people, we have many projects. We're going to film something in July. And that's Jason Starn. He's my partner here. Where he's the first one to build the digital wall, the 4K digital wall, right? Where you can film anything in front of the wall with the Unreal Engine technology. Like if you see shows like Mandalorian, all the shows, big shows, they use that technology. You can do anything. So we're gonna film the pilot of a film. It's called Highway 57, true story that happened to an American agent that got caught up in Mexico with the cartels. So we're gonna do this. And so we keep building, has all the projects. I love movies and I'll keep doing movies as long as I can. It's a passion that I have. So we have this project, going to LA to film with Hagan in the next month as well, project where he's producing, directing, actually, my brother, first time. It's going to be fun. So we have film project, but the goals really, the books are in the hands of very good people. So I'm going to do specific podcasts on the book. Okay. Hey, that's some idea for future. Huh? You gotta get a copy. We can talk about the book.
That'd be excellent.
It's pretty cool. And I'm gonna be doing that and keep pushing this and go more and more in that direction to have cause an impact in that area. So that's the beginning of the book. There was a story about these young guys they meet, and my student wrote that they meet Musashi, like Musashi, the greatest samurai who ever lived, come back to present time in Japan. Then they meet these young guys. And so it's a short story, but very amazing. Then he's in present time, what's going on here? Then they meet Musashi, who he is, and they see that he came from the past, and then they are business people, and they run a company, and then through that relationship, they develop what's called the way forward. So Musashi teaches them all these samurai principles that they can apply in their company, and then their company just skyrocketed, and they create what's called the way forward. So that kind of, the way forward is kind of what we're planning with this, to keep taking forward and growing. So I can do talks about the book and to different groups in business companies and conference. And so it's kind of opening that door in my life to do more and more of that stuff.
Well, folks, unfortunately, we're fresh out of time. John, it has been really a great time talking with you today. I appreciate you sharing your story. You have some great insight for life and jiu-jitsu, and I really do appreciate you sharing it all with us today. You're welcome back on the show anytime you'd like to come back.
Man, I love the experience. Thank you for having me and talking to such a great group of people in all different age groups. And it's very important to do this talk at this point with all the products that I have and the book, etc. And we definitely, I'm looking forward to do again. Thank you again, Ryan.
Absolutely. It was really an honor. I appreciate it. For anyone out there that wants to keep up with John, it's very easy to do so. He's active on Instagram. It's John Machado TV. Make sure you guys follow there. He also has a YouTube channel. It's John Machado and the number 1. So John Machado 1. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified when he adds new content. His website is johnmachadobjj.com. If you guys are ever passing through Texas, he's got a really phenomenal academy there in Allen, Texas. So make sure you guys swing in and get some training. And guys, keep an eye out for his films, his TV stuff, and also his books. Check out his books on Amazon.com. And that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. I really appreciate you tuning in. Please stay tuned for the next episode of the BJJ Fanatics podcast.